Our extension length is 4 digits. So, of the 11 digits that the telco will send us, we are going to drop 7. We're going to get rid of 7 digits, leaving us with 4. Okay? And that hopefully will be something within the system.
Fair enough here.
We have to make things realistic. We're going to make phone calls into the PBX and phone calls out of the PBX to 2 SIP extensions, 2 SIP phones which are registered to the telco. Okay, so these 2 SIP phones are registered to the telco. So, before we continue, I must turn on my telco. Hold on. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is register 2 SIP devices onto the telco system. Okay, and so we're going to start our Tmax. Click on menu, click on add account. The SIP server is the MDG for the telco, and in this case it is 104.171.206.230. The user is 100X, X in my case is 2. The domain is the same as a subserver. The password is, you can copy and paste it. The login is also 100x, so 2 in my case. Media encryption, optional. The stun server is a Google stun server. And I want allow IP rewrite. And name, it is going to be telco 1002. Save, and it should go online. We will register the micro-SIP. Micro-SIP. Select this drop down, add account. The account name is telco 2xx, which is 222 in my case. Subserver. And the domain is the same. The username is 2xx, X in my case is 2. Transport is TCP. Media encryption is optional. Stun server is the Google stun server. Save my changes first. Oh, the password is save my changes, and it should go online. Okay, but I should also set my stun server. So settings, and my stun server is the Google stun server. Cancel, and so it should also show online. Okay, both of them show online. So can you please do lab 15?
Okay, sir, done.
Okay,
Yeah, okay, sir.
right, let's move on. So we are going to connect to the telco using SIP. Okay, there are two ways to connect to the telco using SIP. The one way is the telco installs a router on the customer network. That router VPNs into the telco network, and so this is a secure connection, and so the telco is happy that the speech and signaling are coming from two different sources. Okay. The other way is through a session border controller, where the speech and the signaling come from the same IP address or FQDN. Okay. So in this case, this router here is the customer's router, not the telco router. Right? It's a customer router to get out of the customer network into the internet. We will configure it this way. Okay. For this course, all you must know is the internal IP address of the MPG. We do not teach you what you must configure on the MPG. That is a different course. Okay. On this course, all we know is there is a session border controller, and we know the internal IP address of that session border controller. And we also know the final IP address or FQDN of the telco. Okay. So, for incoming calls, this is what you need to configure. You need to configure in voice networks. You need to tell the system how to get to the telco, right? So the FQDN of the telco must be configured in the system. Also, because we're going through the MPG, the IP address of the MPG must be configured in network elements. Okay? Then the trunks, the outgoing trunks, need a class of service. We have one pre-configured, that's class of service 10. Important features are these things. Okay. Then, using trunk attributes, we tell the system how to handle incoming calls. We tell the system when a call comes in, that call must get class of service 10. When a call comes in, we tell the system to get rid of the first 7 digits. Because our telco in our lab is sending us 11 digits. Our extensions are 4 digits long, so we must get rid of 7 digits. then we configure a SIP peer profile that will link this thing with this thing. So here in the SIP peer profile, I say for the network element called ITSP-Tel, when a call comes in for that network element, it must look at trunk service number 3. Trunk service number 3 says get rid of 7 digits and give the incoming call a class of service 10. And then finally, how does the incoming call get to the SIP peer profile? It's through the incoming DID number. The system looks at the incoming DID number and then finds the SIP peer profile. So it finds the profile called Tel. It goes to the profile called Tel and finds the trunk service number. It goes to the trunk service number and says, aha, I must get rid of 7 digits. That incoming call must get a class of service 10. Okay. So when a SIP call comes in, let's just go through the whole process again. When a SIP call comes in, it is an invite from somewhere to somewhere. Okay? The system first looks at the to address, the destination. Where is it going? Is that number that's come in, is that number in this range? If it is in this range, it finds this peer profile, it finds the trunk service number, and it therefore finds how many digits it must absorb and what class of service it gets. If the incoming number is not here, it is not here, therefore it cannot find a SIP peer profile. What will it do? It then looks at the from, the domain part of the from address. In this case, it's an IP address. It goes to network elements and says, what is this IP address? Right. What is that IP address? And network element says, it's a SIP peer called ITSP-Tel. The system then goes to SIP peer profile and says, I am looking for ITSP-Tel. I therefore find the trunk service number, which is that. I therefore find I must absorb 7 digits, and I find I must give the incoming call a class of service 10. So that is how incoming calls work. Let me repeat the process. When a call comes in, the system looks at the to number. Where is it going to? goes and looks for that number in this form. Is that number over here? Is that number here programmed in this form? If the number is in this range, it finds the SIP here profile. The system then goes to the SIP here profile and says, how must I process this call? SIP here profile says, go and look at trunk service number 3. The system goes and looks at trunk service number 3. It says, okay, I must get rid of 7 digits. I must give the call a class of service 10. Then the system says, what are the remaining digits? Is that a number in the system? So you know that the system looks at the incoming number first and goes over here. If the number is not there, if the incoming number is not programmed in here, it looks at the domain part of the from address. In this case, it's an IP address. It goes to network elements and says, what is this IP address that this call is coming from? The system says it's a SIP here, and the name of that SIP here is Mitel. The system says, okay, I know it is a SIP here, so I go to the SIP here profile, and the system says, I'm looking for Mitel. How must I process this call? And SIP here profile says, well, for Mitel, you must go and look at trunk service 3. System looks at trunk service 3 and says, I must get rid of 7 digits. I must give it a class of service 10. And then what are the remaining 4 digits? Is that an extension? Is that a ring group? What is it? I hope you understand this. If you don't, I can't help you because I don't know how to explain it in any other way.
Okay, sir.
So we're going to program this now to get incoming calls to work. And then we'll call it a day, okay? Let's finish off. So I need to program a network element. We already have the class of service. I must program a trunk attribute. I must program SIP here profile. I must program a SIP here profile assignment. Okay? So this is the information the customer has given us. They have purchased 5 connections to the telco. The IP address of the telco is that. They also tell us they have a session border controller, and the IP address of the session border controller, in this case an MPG, is that. They also tell us the telco is using UDP packets, and they're telling us the telco is going to send us digits. using all this information, that is enough to program incoming calls. So let's configure. On PBX1. I go to network elements, add, I must add the details of the telco. So I will call this name, I will give this name ITSP. ITSP is a standard abbreviation for Internet Telephony Service Provider. Okay? It is none of these things, so it can only be other. Its IP address is 104.171.206.230. And it is SIP, and they told us the transport is UDP, and the standard SIP UDP port is 5060. And you see here your PBXs belong to zone 1. If you read the Mitel documentation, it says a telco zone must be